Hey guys, Amber with Prairie Angel Crafts, and today I will be showing you how to make this color changing mermaid scale tumbler. Okay, we will first start by cutting out our scales on medium cardstock on our Cricut or whatever cutting device you have. I'll go ahead and I'll post the link to the scales that I bought in the description box. Then we're just going to peel the extra cardstock off the mat. And these are two different sizes, so what I'm doing is I'm peeling each size off and putting them on separate sides, because when I go to put them on my cup, I'm only going to use one size. Okay, so now they are all off the mat, and I'm going to try to figure out which size is going to work best on my cup. I chose the bigger size because it just looks better to me. So what you're going to do now is you will just take each one of the scales and kind of bend them on your fingers so that way they mold to the cup a little bit better. Once you are finished with the scales, you'll just go ahead and sand your cup to prep it. And then after that is finished, I take a paper towel with 100% acetone on it, and I'll wipe that all over my cup to get the excess sanding particles off, as well as any oil that may be on the cup from touching it or just being in the package itself. And then I am ready to start putting the scales on. So to put the scales on, I am using normal Mod Podge. And some people use the double-sided tape. I have just found that it's easier for me if I use the Mod Podge. Don't do what I do and spill it all over your table though. So now what we're going to do is we'll take our paintbrush, dip it in the Mod Podge, you don't need a lot, and just kind of paint that on to the cup where the scale will be. You don't need a lot, just enough for just one area of where the scale will be. And then after that, just make sure it's nice and smooth. And then after that, we will take our scale and place it on our cup and make sure the tip does not go over the edge of the cup. You want it to butt up just directly at the bottom of the cup, like so. Make sure you press down firmly on the scale so that way it adheres to the cup properly. And then after that, we'll just repeat the Mod Podge step and just paint onto our cup. With the Mod Podge, again, make sure it is nice and even. You don't need a lot. And then after that, we are going to take our next scale and we will put it right next to where those edge tips touch and just press it down and hold firmly. And now you're going to repeat those steps all the way around the bottom of the cup. Okay, so now I have all the scales around the bottom of the cup, and there's a little bit of a gap left over, so I'm just applying Mod Podge on, and then I'm going to take a scale and place it directly in between both of those so it's right in the middle, and again press firmly and smooth it out. And now we are ready for our second layer of scales. So you're just going to paint with Mod Podge in between the scales like so. And you will put your scale on so it matches up firmly with the previous scales. Now you will just repeat that same process all the way around this second layer. And now you're just going to do the same thing for the rest of the cup. Just make sure each scale is in line with the ones previously. So this is what it should look like after all the layers are complete. I still have one more layer up at the top. I'm going to show you how I do that because I don't like the overlapping of the scales over the top of the cup. So what I do is I put them all together, I measure them, and then I take my scissors and I cut them all the same length so that way you still have that gap up at the top to completely seal your cup. After you cut them, make sure that they are all still kind of bent a little bit so that way they form to your cup a little bit better. And then I'm just going to repeat the exact same process as I did the rest of the cup. Just paint the Mod Podge on, and then I'm going to put each scale on to the cup so that way it leaves that little gap up at the top that I was talking about. and then I will finish that and I will be back. Okay, so this part of the cup is finished, and now I'm going to let it sit overnight so that way I make sure it completely dries, and then I'll be back tomorrow. Okay, so I let that dry overnight, and I woke up and I spray painted my cup black, and then you just make sure you let it dry completely. And now it is time for the tack it over and over. I use a paintbrush that has good bristles, the ones that don't come out when you're painting. And I just need to, I'm going to tack it over and over in one measuring cup. And then I go in after that and I pour just a little bit of water into the cup. I pour about maybe a fourth of that into the cup. And then I stir it up nice and smooth to where it is all blended together. Just make sure you mix it completely to where there's no lumps in the tack it over and over. And after that, just kind of wipe off your popsicle stick, and you're going to use your paintbrush and just paint it all over your cup. It doesn't matter how even it is at the moment, because you will kind of correct that later on. Just make sure you get it all over your cup and continue to do that until it is completely covered. Alright, so now that I have my cup completely covered, I am going to use a paper towel and just kind of rub my paintbrush over my cup and then dip it or dab it on my paper towel, and that just helps me get the excess off. So once it is completely done, you just let it sit and completely dry. When it is dry, it'll feel kind of tacky. So just make sure you let it completely dry. Okay, so what I'm going to use to do the chameleon effect is this chameleon mica powder number 5 from Mr. Nala's Glitter, and I'll post a link down in the description for this. And then I just tap the top of it to make sure all the mica powder is at the bottom when I open it. And you're going to use a fluffy makeup brush. I just bought a cheap one from Walmart, I believe. And make sure your cup is nice and dry and tacky. Once you've checked your cup to make sure every part of it is tacky and dry, you will dip your makeup brush. Sorry, I'm just situating things. Dip your makeup brush inside the mica powder and just gently rub that all over. And make sure you get an even coat all over your cup so that way it doesn't look splotchy or anything. Just look at how the color shift changes that black spray paint to a teal/purple color whenever you move it around. It's got a beautiful color shift and it's absolutely stunning. Once you're done with the bottom, you'll just go ahead and start on the scale part of your cup. Like on the bottom, just make sure you get it evenly coated so that way there's no splotchy parts. And be sure to get it around the rim of the cup as well as in between the scales so that way you don't see any black peeking through. Okay, so now that it's finished, I'm going to show you the cup as I turn it, and you can see the colors shifting. And once I let this sit for a minute, I'm going to spray it with some triple thick clear spray paint to seal it. So now, as you can tell, it is a little bit more shiny, so it is completely sealed. And now I am working with my Stone Coat Quick Coat epoxy, so that way I can get that on there and go ahead and put my glitter on top. So just make sure you spread it evenly, make sure it's in between the scales and everything. Okay, so now that it's completely covered in epoxy, I am going to be using a opal color translucent or iridescent, whatever you want to call it, glitter from Feather Bear Designs or Feather Bear Bling. I'll post a link to them as well in the comments. But the glitter is called Mother of Opal, and it's absolutely stunning. It's got a mixture of big, medium, and fine glitter. And I'm going to pour it into a separate cup because it's easier for me. And you're just going to make sure you get the thicker part of the glitter up at the top and at the very, very bottom rim of your cup. and then you'll kind of sprinkle it on from there to make it like a little ombre effect going down. Now I'm going to repeat those same steps for the very bottom of the cup. Just make sure you sprinkle it a little bit heavier at the very bottom, and then you'll just kind of gently sprinkle it on with your fingers after that a little bit up the cup to make it look like the ombre effect. Okay, so I dumped the rest of the glitter back in the container, and I'm just using the leftover glitter that's in the cup and gently tapping it into the middle so that way it looks like the two glitters kind of transition into each other. And then I will let it sit for 2 hours. And to see how to finish this cup, I have a video that shows a start to finish on a cup, and I'll link that in the description bar below. But that is it for this video, so thank you guys. Make sure you like and subscribe to my channel, and until next time, bye guys.